Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch our third annual training video. Most of you know me, but just in case you don't, I'm Christy Mollish. I am the manager of CSFP for the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. We do these training videos every year as a requirement to kind of keep you up to date on everything going on with CSFP. And I promise to make it as quick and as painless as I possibly can while still setting you up for success as we finish another year of serving seniors throughout Central and Eastern North Carolina. It has been another crazy year for all of us who are serving CSFP. Between dealing with the lingering effects of the pandemic, the constant supply chain disruptions, and striving to meet that huge caseload increase that we received in early 2021, we've all had our hands very full. However, I am pleased to report that as of May 2022, we are officially at caseload. We are serving in 33 of the Food Bank's 34 county service area. So if anyone knows anyone in Pamlico County who wants to serve some seniors, make sure to give them my number. In the meantime, let's review what being at caseload means for you. Being at caseload as a food bank and as a partner of our food bank means that we cannot currently bring on any new agencies or even any new participants and guarantee them a box. You are free to take new applications, but those applications are going to be waiting list applications. The process for receiving them is the same in Link to Feed. You just have to select waiting list as their status instead of active when you get to the CSFP tab. Waiting list clients may only receive a box if your active participants have had at least 2 opportunities to pick up their box and have not done it. Then a box may go to a waiting list individual so long as they are properly entered into Link to Feed and certified appropriately. All waiting list clients will remain on the waiting list until either someone on your active list falls off the program or our caseload here at the food bank increases and we can allow more active clients. Typically, we apply for this increase in October, and we find out whether or not we received it sometime in the first quarter of the new fiscal year, whenever the federal government decides to get back to us. We're hoping for January. At that time, if we receive an increase, then we here at the food bank will change the status of any waiting list clients and send them the required letters and documentation. It's not something that we make you guys worry about. We do like to make sure you understand the waiting list process so that you can explain it to any people that you sign up to be on the waiting list in the next couple of months. This is just my annual update of my very favorite graph. If you've been with CSFP for a while, chances are you've seen this graph a couple of times. It shows the growth of the program over the last 5 years as we've all worked together to serve seniors. So you see that initial blue line increase. It was the first increase we got from 900 to 3,900 boxes, and it's grown a little bit every single year. But you can see in 2021, right by that big green arrow, we jumped a huge number of boxes essentially overnight. And we've been working really hard ever since to make sure that we have hit that caseload. If you're really eagle-eyed at looking at this graph, you can actually see that right now, the number of boxes we're distributing, which is the red line, is actually higher than what our technical caseload is, which means that we are exceeding caseload. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, but Christy, I thought we weren't allowed to exceed caseload. Well, we're not supposed to exceed caseload unless the state of North Carolina specifically requests that we do so. You are all so efficient at getting boxes to seniors in need that the state often asks us here at the food bank to distribute any leftover boxes that they have in hopes of making sure that all resources are getting to seniors who need them. It's never something that we can count on, but it's always a great thing when we can make it happen, as it makes the state happy. And anything that makes the state happy makes me happy. So it's been a pretty exciting couple of months as we work together to try and make sure that North Carolina is serving as many seniors as possible. So looking ahead, we're ready to jump into this coming year with both feet. Of course, we're looking to grow and be able to serve all 34 of our counties in our service area. So really hoping for Pamlico. Additionally, we're also hoping to apply for an increase up to a full 9,000 boxes, which would be a really exciting way to grow. Coming up, we'll also be hiring a new staff member for CSFP. Kelsey, who many of you know and who has been on the team for about 3 years, has transitioned to working with the food bank's kids programs. We're so happy and excited for her to explore this opportunity, though of course we'll miss working with her every day. In the meantime, we're going to be looking at getting someone hired and trained so that the CSFP team can be back up to full staff because we were short-staffed all summer long. Once that happens, we should have a little more flexibility to better serve you. I know most of you have completed virtual or in-person site visits with Christina Page, another amazing member of our team. However, we also love to have that flexibility to come out and see you and help you with your distributions. We know that CSFP can be a lot to navigate and often feel like we can best serve you when we're seeing exactly what you're dealing with on the ground and helping to troubleshoot any potential areas of concern. It is our hope that once we're back to full staff, we'll be a little more available for assistance and help. Additionally, we are looking ahead to our audit by the NCDA. We're not due again for a little while, but it's important for our team to be able to perform in excellence so that we continue to be trusted by the state to run this very finicky federal program. There is a new North Carolina CSFP manual that is being released sometime in the next few months, and we're really going to focus in and make sure that all of the distributions we run, as well as all the sites we partner with, which includes all of you, are following the best practices laid out in that manual. All right, so since we know that the CSFP manual is coming, we thought we'd spend some time just talking about some things that we know are going to be in that manual. It's nothing that isn't already an expectation for CSFP, but it's certainly going to be focused on more and more by the state and by us as we come out and we do visits, and we just need to have those expectations as universal as possible. I don't like surprising you with things that you don't know about, so I'm telling you all about some things that I know are coming now so that you can be ready and prepped for them. First, let's talk about document retention. According to the federal code that lays out CSFP and mandates all of its rules, all sites must keep copies of a couple of things. The first thing is going to be your record of civil rights training for all of your staff and your volunteers. The second is going to be all of your invoices. And the third is going to be your temperature charts if you ever store cheese. We know that invoices have been a problem. We're working on that on our end to try and figure out exactly where the holdup is and how we can fix it. In order to help with this expectation of document retention, we are going to be sending each site a new binder. In the binder, you will find out a printed out version of the civil rights training. We've made it all printer friendly for you. You will find a sign-in sheet that you can use to record the training of anybody that you train. And you will also find any invoices that you reported as missing on your pre-training survey. You can keep all of this stuff in your binder and keep your binder handy for all of your CSFP document retention needs. Second, and I know this is repeating and repeating and repeating, but I'm going to say it again and then I'll say it some more. Checking IDs is absolutely required. I know that you know your seniors. I certainly know my seniors and the ones that we serve every single month. But as silly as it feels to say, "Hi, Mrs. James, can I see your ID?" That is exactly the expectation of the state because that's what's dictated in the federal code. Checking IDs is required. Third, it is true that if you're a proxy for individuals, you can sign for their box every month. It's one of the reasons that we have strongly recommended that you guys become proxy for as many people as you possibly can. However, for their original application, as well as any recertifications, the client themselves must sign. You may either use a paper application and then enter it into Link to Feed later, or just do it straight into Link to Feed. If you need to use paper, we also require a copy of that original paper for our records. But you do need to keep that on record and have it ready to go, as well as entering it into Link to Feed so that the computer knows that they have been certified or recertified. And I can talk you through that if you ever have questions about how to do that. Fourth, every senior must be given at least 2 opportunities to pick up their box. this can be a real challenge for sites who typically distribute toward the end of the month. I encourage you to start thinking about how this expectation will affect you now, so that when the manual goes live, you're not taken by surprise and you have a plan in place. One thing to note is that the home delivery can count as a second opportunity. So if home delivery is something that you are able to do or something you're interested in, that can count as a second opportunity to pick up your box. Fifth, you must serve active clients before waiting list clients. I kind of covered this in the early section about caseload and how that works, but it's worth saying again. Your active clients have to be given 2 opportunities to pick up their box before you allow any waiting list clients to receive a box. Sixth, of course, and Justice for All posters are always required to be clearly posted at your location. These are just a few of the things that we know are going to be in this manual. Like I said, these expectations are actually already the case for CSFP. But with that manual in place, we know that people are really going to be emphasizing it because it's going to be written down as a statewide expectation. There might be even more that we need to keep an eye on. Make sure that you're reading your monthly newsletters every single month, because we will definitely put in those helpful hints. We will put in any information we have. And if you need help problem solving how to tackle some of these challenges, remember, that's what we're here for. Reach out and we can schedule some time to talk about what might work for you. This is just a fun little side note. Did you know that the food bank packed surveys into the boxes this past year? It's actually something we're supposed to do once a year, every year, to investigate the nutrition ed and how people are feeling about it. But we also got some great feedback from the seniors. We had an over 10% response rate, which is actually really high for a survey of this nature. And we're very proud of that. We got back some amazing responses, which you can see here on the screen. These really highlighted how deeply the boxes are appreciated and how important the work all of you do is. It's so essential. Okay, let's talk about monthly paperwork in Link to Feed. Many of you are probably familiar with Amberlyn, who's the newest member of our CSFP team. She started with us in February, and one of the many essential functions she provides to us every month is making sure that everyone's Link to Feed numbers are recorded and accurate in the system. But we thought we might take a moment to explain why it's important that they're in a particular time and what it impacts when those numbers are not recorded by the end of the month, because I'm willing to bet that it matters a lot more than you think it does. First of all, the most important thing to know is issuing boxes in Link to Feed is required by the USDA. It's the online version of the old receipt of food form, the acknowledgement that yes, this specific senior received a box this month. Ideally, those names should be entered in the same day that that senior received their food. If not the same day, then preferably the same week. We check the numbers often because we are trying to hit a very specific number every single month. If I gave you 50 boxes and you only issued 43, that's 7 more boxes that I at the food bank here have to figure out where to put and how to distribute them and who to give them to and how to get them there. So if I don't have your numbers in, I don't know that I need to cover it, and it makes it really hard to hit that number every single month. It means that we run the risk of running out of food or not giving out enough boxes and not maintaining our caseload. If we don't maintain our caseload as a state, there is every possibility that boxes could be taken away from us, which is not something we want. Additionally, those numbers have a huge impact on the next month for both seniors and the number of boxes you receive. On the first day of the next calendar month, so in our case, like October 1st, the computer automatically goes through the entire list of active clients and turns anyone who has missed the last 2 months in a row from active to suspended. Our team here at the food bank then sends everyone with a suspended status a letter, as we are required to by the federal government, stating that it looks like they've missed 2 months in a row, and if they do not contact us, they'll be removed from the program. Again, this isn't our rule. It is something that we are required to do by the USDA. We are happy to deal with both the letters and the subsequent hundreds of calls, which is not an exaggeration, for you, It's something that we handle on our end, so you don't ever have to touch it. However, if you don't have your boxes recorded in Linktifeed before the end of the month, then there is every likelihood that seniors will get suspended when they didn't actually need to be. This is an inconvenience for both the seniors and for us. What's more, the numbers recorded in Linktifeed are a huge part of how I figure out how many boxes to send you for the coming month. Every month, I go into Linktifeed and cross-check it with my records. I see that last month, I gave you 50 boxes. In Linktifeed, I see you recorded 43 people as receiving boxes. That means if you haven't told me differently, I'm going to assume that you have 7 leftover boxes. If you now have 48 active people on your list, let's say 1 passed away and 1 moved, I'm going to send you 41 boxes. The total active number of people, 48, minus the leftovers that you theoretically have, 7, 41 boxes. Now, there are a couple sites that differ from this for one reason or another, but mostly this is how your monthly caseload is figured out on my end. It's a painstaking and laborious process, and having accurate numbers is a huge part of making sure that my math is right and you are getting the resources you need to best serve your clients, that you're not getting shorted boxes and you're not getting so many that it's just going to junk up your staff and your space. Okay, so we thought as part of our annual training, we would go over a little bit of Linktifeed. I know you all see it every month and y'all are in it every month. We see the numbers, we appreciate it. But there's a couple tips and tricks, some processes that we know really well, that we've taught some of you, that we thought would just be helpful to go over again so that you had that information. So the first is going to be to go ahead and learn how to run a kit issuance list. Kit issuance lists are really helpful bits of information that are basically a way to print out a customized list of all of your clients. And you can print out a list of all of your clients. You can print out a list of only your clients who haven't received a box yet, or only your clients who have received a box. And there's different instances where you want all of that information. So it's great to know how to print out a list and how to use that in your distribution as a tool. So if you go here to clients on the left-hand side from the dashboard, kit issuance is going to be the bottom option right here. Okay. And then it says here for the following time period, the dates are what I choose or between. And for between, you're just going to usually do the entire month. So for example, in the month of September, I want to go from September 1st to September 30th. And the organizations, if you click on this section that says select organizations by name, your organization should be the drop down. Mine says Inborn School because that's the location that I'm currently signed in under. That's one of my largest sites, but yours should just say the site that you're in. And then for household visits, you can choose either the clients who did not get a visit last month, all your clients, or only your clients with visits. So only clients with no visits, that would be if you've already done a distribution and you want to see the number of people who didn't show up so that you could run a list and use that to call people and be like, hey, come and get your box. It's your last chance before the end of the month or something like that, or before we offer it to wait list people. That's when you would use the only clients with no visits feature. All clients would be at the beginning of the month when you just want to see a list of everybody who's ever been at your site. You can do all clients. And only clients with visits is what you would want to use when you're putting in your numbers and you've put everything in and you want to double check to make sure that you listed 34 names and you want to make sure that those 34 names actually went into the system and are good to go. So let's go do only clients with visits because it's after September and we're kind of checking in on what we did for September. And if I hit create list, it'll think about it for a minute. Now it might not think as long for you because it's a very big site, but then it'll pop up with this list here. And here's all the things that you can turn on and off on these fields. So like official location, you can have that on and it's the default, or you can turn it off and just be like, okay, I don't need that information. Or CSFP ID might be handy because sometimes it can be hard to find the right, Joe Smith. So having the ID is sometimes really helpful. The status, you can have that and should have that to make sure that you're serving active people first and then waiting lists, and that you're not accidentally serving someone who's been suspended or closed or terminated in some way. The address is not automatically on here, but you can put it on just by clicking address line 1 and line 2. You can turn on and off all these fields and basically get it the way you want it. If you want it organized by like last name alphabetically, you can just click right here at the top of the last name and it automatically does it. Just boom, 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 boom. And right now you can only see 10 people, but actually I have 515 people on this list. So if I want to do this all in here, I can, or I can just print this. I can hit this little button here, and that downloaded a CSV file that I can use in Excel to see all my people at one time and kind of play with them and figure out, what I need, what information I need from that. Always have your next recertification date on that list, because that's going to tell you whether or not they're due for recertification. Now, if they're due for recertification, it doesn't have a date. What it does do is say that they're uncertified. So that's not certified. See, this person here is due for recertification. If I needed to serve him, I would have to recertify him first. So that's the thing saying, you know what, that person is definitely due and you cannot serve him until you recertify him. So that's running a kit issuance. If you don't want to look at it in Excel, you can also just hit print view and it'll automatically connect to any device that the device you're located on. If it has attached to a printer, it'll automatically go to a printer and it'll print out kind of like this, which is what you should be looking at. But overall, that's how you can run a kit issuance. It's a super helpful tool for doing distributions and just making sure you have what you need. The other super helpful tool that lots of people use and that is really, really awesome for people who want to print out a list of all their people and then enter it in later is going to be called attendance. Most of you are familiar with this, but we go over it a lot, so we're going to go over it again. Again, at clients, and then we go down here to attendance. Attendance is how you can record more than one person at a time. It's not something you want to do unless you are proxy for the people you're recording for. Again, you must be proxy for the people you're recording for. If you're not, then you still need to be capturing their signatures when you get their box. But if you're a proxy for them, which you should be because we talked about it last year, if you're a proxy for them and you're on all their profiles as their proxy, then what you can do is you can go to attendance and then you can hit this little tiny orange button right here that says Edit Group. Okay. Once we hit Edit Group, you might not have all these features. I'm on a particular site that does a lot of different things. You should just see attendance programs, CSFP visit. And you're going to turn that from off to on. Oh, beautiful. This is perfect. So what this does is this shows you, here's a list of all your people. The pink people, there is something wrong. You cannot issue them a box until something is fixed. Sometimes it tells you what that is. So for example, this one says a profile review is required. That means the profile review and the recertification are two different things. The recertification, you have to go through all their tabs, make sure all their information is correct, and then capture a new signature on the CSFP tab. The profile review is just hitting Save and Next at the bottom of every screen. We're trying to get it removed, but it's there. It's there for now, and it happens once a year. Once you hit Save and Next at the bottom of every page, it should go away. So that's what we have here. They're here, and these pink people, it will not let you issue them a box. If you tried to click them and hit Save Visit down here, it would say, no, there's a problem. You can't do that. But all these other people who are in the white here instead of the pink, you could click and I could click all these people. And if I gave all 4 of those people a box, then I could make sure that the date that I gave them the box was correct. I could put any notes I wanted, like distribution from this day or something like that. You don't have to, it's not required, but you certainly can if you like. And then here's one receipt of food, and the signatory is going to be you or whoever's the proxy. I'm the proxy for these friends. I can open the signature canvas and I can sign. And I like to tell seniors, it doesn't have to be pretty, it just needs to be there. My name is really long, so I don't usually bother with the whole thing. I usually just initial it. And then if I hit save visit, it is going to save a visit for all of the people that I have checked off. If I tried to do it with some of the people who were pink checked off, it would say, no, there's a problem. You have to fix that before you can continue. That's a way that it automatically builds in to make sure that you are acting in compliance. So for example, Christine Alston here, I'm betting that she is probably suspended. We haven't seen her in a couple months. Oh no, she's due for recertification. So she's going to have to be recertified before we can serve her. So we'll have to go through all of her information and make sure that that is correct. But that is what you're looking at for how to run attendance. It's important when doing attendance to do it again as close to the actual time of distribution that you possibly can. If for whatever reason you don't get it done in the appropriate amount of time and it's suddenly the new month and you still haven't done the previous month, you will get a call from Amberlin. And when you go to do it, you're going to have to remember to backdate all of the attendance that you do. You'll have to change that date back here where it shows it on the attendance feature. You're going to have to change that date and make sure that it reflects the date within the month that you're trying to record. So for example, if I'm trying to record a CSFP visit for September, this says October. If I do not change that, it will record an October visit, not a September visit. This is again another reason you need to do the recording in the same month as soon as possible after giving out that box. If you have any questions about that, please let us know. In other news, we thought we'd share with you some exciting developments that have been happening this calendar year as we've served people. We thought it was worth mentioning that we've been exploring some really creative partnerships lately in order to help serve CSFP, including working closely with DoorDash. DoorDash has been delivering CSFP's boxes in selected areas of our service area for a little while. And while it's far from a perfect system, it definitely allows us to serve seniors in a new and exciting way. We are still working on the best practices for this new service, and it certainly doesn't work everywhere. Rural areas in particular can really struggle with getting enough drivers to make the administrative overhead worthwhile. But for some agencies, it's a way to address the needs of transportation-challenged seniors. We're onboarding this to our agencies very slowly and very intentionally. So if you're interested and you think it might be worthwhile for you, let us know and we'll reach out when we're ready to try expansion in your area. Next up, Tanya Derfler, who's the NCDA field rep for a large portion of our food bank, has kindly recorded the civil rights training for us so that we can continue in our efforts to be completely in compliance with federal code. Please watch closely. Thank you.
Welcome to Civil Rights Compliance Training with the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Food Distribution Division. Food Nutrition Service Instruction 113-1. The purpose of FNS Instruction 113-1 is to establish and convey policy, provide guidance and direction, ensure compliance with and enforcement of the prohibition against discrimination. What is discrimination? The simple definition is the unfair or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people and groups based on characteristics. Why civil rights training? Training is required so that people involved in all levels of administration of programs that receive federal financial assistance understand civil rights related laws, regulations, procedures, and directives. Local agencies are responsible for training their managers and staff who interact with applicants or participants on an annual basis. New staff must receive civil rights training before participating in TFAP or CSFP activities. Volunteers must also receive training appropriate for their roles and responsibilities. Civil rights training for volunteers. Frontline volunteers, such as individuals who regularly interact with applicants and participants, determine eligibility, or handle personal information, must receive full civil rights training on an annual basis. Volunteers who do not handle personal information and who may infrequently interact with program applicants, participants, or frontline staff must receive, at a minimum, limited civil rights training, which covers customer service and any other subject matter applicable to each volunteer's role and responsibilities. Volunteers who do not interact in any way with program applicants and participants and who do not handle personal information are not required to complete civil rights training. Training content. The annual training must include, but not be limited to, the following topics in the FNS Instruction 113-1: collection and use of data, effective public notification systems, complaint procedures, compliance review techniques, resolution of noncompliance, requirements for reasonable accommodation of persons with disabilities, requirements for language assistance, conflict resolution, and customer service. Collection and use of data. State and local agencies are required to obtain data by race and ethnicity. For CSFP, use Form FNS 191, and data should be collected at the point of application. Self-identification or self-reporting is preferred method of obtaining data. Since participants cannot be required to furnish information regarding their race or ethnicity, applicants shall be assured that the information is required and used for statistical purposes only and has no impact on eligibility criteria. Where an applicant or participant does not provide this information, the collector shall, through visual observation, secure and record the data. Effective public notification systems. Program availability. Inform applicants, participants, and potentially eligible persons of their program rights, responsibilities, and the steps necessary for participation. Complaint information. Must advise applicants and participants at the service delivery point of their right to file a complaint, how to file a complaint, and the complaint procedures. Non-discrimination statement. All information, materials, and sources, including websites, must contain a non-discrimination statement. The statement is not required to be included on every page of the program website, but at least on the home page. Notification methods. Prominently display the USDA and Justice for All non-discrimination poster. Inform potentially eligible people, applicants, participants, and grassroots organizations of the program and its requirements. Provide appropriate information in alternative formats for people with disabilities. Include the non-discrimination statement on all appropriate program materials provided to the public. Convey the message of equal opportunity in all photographic and other graphics that are used to provide program-related information to the public. Share program-related information materials in languages other than English if the need exists. Civil rights complaint procedures. The right to file. Anyone alleging discrimination has the right to file a complaint within 180 days of the alleged discriminatory action. Acceptance. Complaints, written or verbal, must be forwarded to the appropriate Office of Civil Rights Director. Anonymous complaints will be handled as any other to the extent feasible on available information. Any OCR may develop complaint forms, but the use of such forms must not be a prerequisite for acceptance of a complaint. Complaints of discrimination. They can be verbal, written, or anonymous, can be made by any person at any level, and civil rights complaints is based on 6 protected classes. You need to have specific processes in place for your agency. Verbal complaints. The person to whom the allegations are made must write up the elements of the complaint for the complainant. Verbal complaints content must contain the complainant's name, address, phone number, email, or other contact information, specific location and name of agency delivering the service or benefit, the nature of the incident or action that led the complainant to feel discriminated, what protected base or class the complainant feels discriminated against, names, phone numbers, titles, addresses of people who may have knowledge of the discriminatory action, the date or dates which the alleged discriminatory action occurred, or duration of such actions. Compliance reviews. Must advise the reviewed entity in writing of findings and recommendations. Federal or state reviewer must secure information as necessary to make the determination of compliance. Routine reviews conducted as required by program regulations, and the selection criteria includes unusual fluctuations of racial ethnic groups in service area, the number of discrimination complaints filed against the agency, unresolved findings from previous reviews, information from grassroots organizations, state officials, etc. Resolution of noncompliance. Noncompliance. Factual finding that a civil rights requirement is not being adhered to. Achieving voluntary compliance. If found noncompliant, immediate steps to become compliant must be taken. Termination or suspension of assistance. Any action must be limited to the agency found noncompliant and limited to a particular program which noncompliance was found. What is a protected class? Any person or group of people who have characteristics for which discrimination is prohibited based on a law, regulation, or executive order. F&S programs protected classes: religion, race, age, color, disability, national origin, sex, including gender identity and sexual orientation, and political affiliation. The full non-discrimination statement. In accordance with federal civil rights law and U.S. Department of Agriculture civil rights regulations and policies, this institution is prohibited from discriminating on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, including gender identity and sexual orientation, disability, age, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity. The short non-discrimination statement. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. Requirements for reasonable accommodation of people with disabilities. The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 prohibits discrimination and ensures equal opportunity for people with disabilities in employment, state and local government services, public accommodations, commercial facilities, and transportation. Reasonable accommodations that do not cause undue hardship must be provided. Things to consider are parking lots, entrances, exits, hallways, elevators, restrooms, braille signage. The Injustice for All poster. AD-475A is the required version for TFAP and CSFP, pictured to the right. This must be displayed in a prominent location for all to view. For Injustice for All posters, contact your North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Food Distribution Division Field Services representative. If you're unsure of who that is, please follow the link below. Requirements for language assistance. Title VI and its regulations require state agencies, local agencies, or other subrecipients to take reasonable steps to assure meaningful access to information and services they provide. What are reasonable steps? The number or proportion of limited English proficiency people eligible to be served or likely to be encountered by the program or grantee. The frequency with which LEP individuals come in contact with the program. The nature and importance of the program, activity, or service provided by the program to people's lives, and the resources available to the grantee or recipient and costs. Equal opportunity for religious organizations. This ensures a level playing field for the participation of faith-based organizations and other community organizations in USDA programs. How to accomplish equal opportunity for religious organizations. Prohibit discrimination on the basis of religion, religious belief, or religious character in the administration of federal funds. Allow a religious organization that participates in USDA programs to retain its independence and continue to carry out its mission, provided that the direct USDA funds do not support any inherently religious activities such as worship or religious instruction. Clarify that faith-based organizations can use space in their facilities to provide USDA-funded service without removing religious art, icons, scriptures, or other religious symbols. Ensure that no organization that receives direct financial assistance from the USDA can discriminate against a program beneficiary on the basis of religion or religious belief. Conflict resolution refers to resolving a dispute to the approval of one or both parties. If we handle conflict appropriately, it not only makes us more effective, but it can also bring about needed change and innovation to our organization. Conflict resolution is the process by which two or more parties reach a peaceful resolution to a dispute. You want to focus on the situation only. Engage with the upset customer directly, giving them your full attention and eye contact. Let them vent. Hear the customer out before you step in. If you interrupt, they may need to repeat what they have already said. Relate to the customer. Perhaps the most important step in resolving a conflict is letting your customer know that you feel their pain. Summarize their situation. Upset customers need to see and hear that you understand their level of frustration. Problem solve. Agree on the problem, brainstorm options, agree on the solution, and follow up on commitments made. Customer service. Be professional, be courteous, listen intently and take notes if necessary. Repeat back what you have been told to ensure correctness, and follow up with corrective action if required. Thank you so very much for being a part of the fight to end hunger in North Carolina.
All right, so I just wanted to put all of our contact information here. I know you have most of it. I know you know us. Most of you have my cell phone number. But just in case, let's just clarify. Me, Christy, at the top, I'm the manager of the program. Kat and Kristen are the people who are most often in the field. They're the ones who kind of do a lot of distribution and know a lot of how the days work in that regard. Amberlyn is administrative guru extraordinaire. She handles a lot of service calls. She can help you with link to feed problems. She can help you with a lot of that kind of stuff. She's also going to call about your monthly reporting. She's going to call if you haven't done your annual training. She's going to be a person you talk to a lot. And then Dana, of course, is our wonderful, amazing boss. So sometimes you might hear from her or see her from time to time. So I just like you to have all that information so that you know who to reach out for in any given situation. Finally, as always, I just need to say thank you. I don't know if there's any way to properly express how much we appreciate everything you do as people on the front line to serve seniors every day. We know that CSFP can be a lot and that the expectations are very high. Please never forget that we are here for you and we want to help whenever we can. Whether it's a link to feed question, a desperate need for an additional set of hands, or a weird situation that just cropped up out of the blue, just reach out, give us a call. We're here and ready and willing to help however we can so that together we can serve this vulnerable population of seniors in need. Thank you for everything, and here's looking forward to another amazing year.